So today we're going to provide an overview of Bookshare and a quick demo. And then the main part of the webinar is the overview of VoiceStream Reader and demos of all of the application's wonderful features. Well, great. We hope you learn a little bit more information today. And at the end of the webinar as well, I will show you some places on our website where you can get more information. My name is Lara Rondberg, and I work with Bookshare, and I will be doing the Bookshare overview today. And then we have with us Winston Chen from VoiceStream, who will demo all those features. So the problem is that printed text doesn't work well for all learners. At least 5% of students experience barrier to reading printed books. A lot of school districts have gone towards different digital curriculums, especially during the pandemic. But digital does not always mean it's accessible for students with reading barriers. So this is where Bookshare comes in. Bookshare is an ebook library that makes reading easier for people with reading barriers. They are able to read in ways that work for them. For some students, that means having audio books. Other students, they comprehend best when they have the highlighted text with the synchronized speech, the text-to-speech. Some students maybe use a Braille device and need the content of the book that's assigned to them in a Braille file. It's just very different depending on the needs of the student. And with Bookshare, every Bookshare book can be downloaded and consumed in a variety of formats, whether it's just the MP3, tools that have the highlighted words with text-to-speech. Maybe they just need larger print. All the Bookshare books can be downloaded simply as a Word file, where you would not have the audio with that, but for students using a screen reader, they could use that. Or someone maybe just needs to enlarge the font. So every book is customizable to meet the needs of the student. We have over 1 million titles in the collection, and we're constantly adding new titles every month. And the collection includes textbooks, fiction, nonfiction, career advancement guides, how-to books. We have all the bestsellers and the award winners, the American Library Association. Every time they have their new award winners, we have those books. The New York Times bestsellers for both children and adults. As soon as they update their list, we update that in our collection. Best of all, Bookshare is free for qualified students of any age. We will go a bit more into the qualifications, but the content that we have in our collection spans from pre-K, K-12, post-secondary, career, adult, vocational education type materials, and all the books that adults might want to read. Also, all the major newspapers and major periodicals. We have books in the different leveled reader collections that are used in many school districts, Lexile, the leveled readers such as Fontes and Pinnell, Accelerated Reader, Scholastic Guided Reader, the NIMAC, the National Instructional Material Access Center books, and many of the Common Core texts. So as you can see, it's a very large collection, and if there is a book that a teacher needs for a student that's not in our collection, that can be requested. We offer two main account types. Educators would sign up for an organization account. This can be done at a school level or at a district level. Some districts, the special ed departments or the VI departments create an account for district-wide use, and then students from all the schools in the districts can be added to that. Other times an educator creates one for use within their school, or maybe just for their students. It's whatever works best for the educator. We also offer individual accounts, and those can be for students or non-students alike. With the individual account for non-students, it is a $50 a year, a fee for that. But for students, again, students of any age, that account type would be free as well. So a parent could sign up their child for an individual account if they're not on a school account. But students can actually have both types. They can be on the school account, which enables them, the teacher to assign the books to them. And when students are on their school account, they can only read the books that have been assigned to them by their teacher. When they have the added individual membership account, they can then search the collection and read any books they want. And that's a great way of encouraging them to read books for fun. So they don't just have to read what they have to read for school, they can read for fun. And that definitely helps encourages them to read, enhances their skills, and maybe even gets them to become an avid reader. And for students with reading barriers who have really struggled with reading, they often lack confidence. They think they hate reading, but once they have an accommodation such as Bookshare, they might actually love to read. So I mentioned that Bookshare is for people who qualify. The qualifications are based on copyright law, which states that an eligible person is blind or has a visual impairment or perceptual or reading disability or a physical disability that prevents them from interacting with printed text to the same degree as someone without such impairment or disability. So if they cannot pick up a book and hold it or turn the pages, see the words on the page, or comprehend and decode the words on the page, then that would make them eligible to receive the content in accessible formats, such as content from Bookshare. And the law states that a competent authority, that is someone who is a professional with expertise in working with students, evaluating them, they're the ones that make the determination. So that's the educator, school psychologist, optometrist, doctor, any type of assistive technology professional, occupational therapist, anyone that has worked with the student and has identified that they have either a visual or a reading barrier or a physical disability, such as cerebral palsy, where they can't hold or manipulate the book. They have that professional expertise to evaluate that and determine that the individual meets the criteria for Bookshare. So when you add your members to your Bookshare account, you're simply checking a box attesting that the student meets the qualification. And I'll show you that in a bit when we go onto the Bookshare website, which I will do right now. Sorry, the computer is quite slow today. Okay, so you should see my screen now. I am logged in as a teacher to the Bookshare website, bookshare.org, and I am going to go to the My Bookshare link. And your My Bookshare page is your dashboard. It's where you add your members. You can add other educators. We call educators sponsors in our system. There can be as many educators on the account as you wish. We actually encourage you to add as many educators as possible. Anyone that works with a student might have a need to assign a book to the student. We know most of our students spend a good deal of time in a general ed classroom. So those teachers will have a need to assign books to the student as well. So they should definitely be added, and then they can find and assign the books that that student needs for their class. So on the members link, that is your member roster, and it's really easy to add a member. Select the Add Member button. We do require first name, last name, birth date, and grade. And then in the section Qualifying Information, you just simply check whether it's a visual, learning, or physical disability that makes them eligible for Bookshare. Again, that's all you need to do. You just click the checkbox. We don't require any documentation to be sent in, but we are relying on you as the professionals that you are making this determination based on either having evaluated the student, or perhaps they have an IEP that has specified that they need reading accommodations such as audiobooks or text-to-speech, and the student meets one of those, falls into one of these categories. We do not require the student to have an IEP or a 504 plan. Most of our members do, but if they do, simply select those boxes as well. Fill in this information. Students are given their own username and password, and then that's how they log in and see the books that have been assigned to them and how they find them in whichever reading tool they are using. So that is the process of adding a member. So you would add your member, and then obviously you want your student to have books to read. There are 3 ways to find books in our collection. Every page on the site has a search bar at the top. You can simply type in a title, an author, or ISBN. It pulls up the list of books, and every book has a detail page with a synopsis and the details of the book. So that's just kind of a real fast way of finding a book. We also have the advanced search page where you can further specify fields to search, the full text of a book, books from a certain publisher. If you know you want your student to have books that contain images, you can select that. So it only will pull up those books that do have images. Many of our books also have image descriptions for students using screen readers or some of the other reading tools that support that. They have the audible description of the image for students that can't see that. We also have a long list of different categories that you can further narrow your search as well that way. On our browse page, we have a bunch of different book collections, and these are put together by the Bookshare librarians. You can see we have the New York Times children's and adults bestsellers. All those are listed there, and those just get updated as the newspaper updates those. We have new books. Under the teachers link, here's where we have the different leveled reader and Lexile, books by Lexile list. So here you see we have books that are in each Lexile level. They're categorized that way. So it makes it easy to find if you're using that system, the accelerated reader books, and so forth. So say I want to assign a book from this collection. I see this is the book I want to assign. I simply select the assign button, and this is going to bring up a list of all my members on my member roster. I can assign it to all of them, or I can select 1 or 2. I select the assign button, and that's it. That book is now assigned to the student. They log in with the username and password that you've provided to them, whether they're going to read on a computer or they're going to read on one of the mobile apps, such as VoiceStream, which we're going to hear about more in a bit. That's how they access their content. We also have something called reading lists, which you can create on your My Bookshare page. These are collection of books, so you can create a list. Say at the beginning of the year, there's 8 books that your students will have to read for that year. You can create a list, and then you add all the books to the list that you need. So they're all in one place. You assign which students should be able to access that list. And then when they log in, again, they can see what reading list they have been assigned to. So once the teacher assigns the book to the students, the students don't know unless you tell them. They don't get any kind of automatic message from Bookshare, but you would tell them, I have assigned 2 books for you on your assigned books list. Go, read those, or I have created a reading list for you. And then they simply log in and find the book. So as I mentioned, there's many different ways to read books. On our website, under the Help Center, we have, which is called our Reading Tool Wizard. And you would select which type of device the student has access to at home or at school. So say they have an iPhone or an iPad. Here are the tools that we recommend use with those devices. Again, there's a little bit of a video and some information about the tool under there. So that's a great place to go if you're trying to determine which tool the student will actually use to read the book. We also have a learning center where there's a bunch of videos and guides and resources to help you get started with Bookshare. One of the best places to start is this ABCs of Bookshare for Educators. When you select that, it has all the different steps and information needed to everything from what is Bookshare, why is it needed, how to sign up for an account, how to set up your account, find books. And under each of these sections, there's a little video tutorial they're quick, about 1 minute, quick video tutorials with some explanations. And there's also how-to guides that have step-by-step information with screenshots that can help you guide you through the entire process. So pretty much everything that you need to do with Bookshare can be found under this ABCs of Bookshare, ABCs of Bookshare for Educators. So I wanted to point out that resource because that is where we would recommend everyone goes first when they want to find out more information or how to do something. Go back to the presentation here for a second. So again, you will receive a copy of the presentation, and it has links to what I just showed you, to the Help Center, the Reading Tool Wizards, and the upcoming webinars that we have. We do webinars throughout the year. We also have a customer support number that is answered from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. PT Pacific time. You can also email our support with your questions. They can answer everything from help with a certain reading tool, or perhaps you know that one of your colleagues created an account for your school, but they have since moved to another school and you would like to get access to that account that's already been set up. Our customer support team can help you get connected to an account if one exists for your district or for your school. And we also have a Facebook page, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube, all the standard social media channels. And our YouTube channel has a bunch of video tutorials that are very helpful as well, along with great testimonials from some of our student members. So I have time for a few quick questions before we go on to the VoiceStream demo. Someone's asking if a parent can create an account for their child and then add the child's teachers as sponsors. No, on the individual account, there are no sponsors. It's just the account for the student. But what we would recommend is for the educator to actually create the account and add the child, and then they can add the individual membership onto that. So that way the student can have the books that are assigned to them by the teacher, as well as find all the, find any book that they wish to read. It looks like the other questions are about VoiceStream. So at this point, I will stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Winston, who will tell you more about VoiceStream and some great demos. Winston, take it away.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. This is Winston Chen. I'm the founder of VoiceStream. And as a product, VoiceStream Reader has been around for 10 years. In fact, the short story is that I wrote the first version of VoiceStream Reader when I took a year off on a sabbatical. Since then, it has grown, VoiceStream both as a company and VoiceStream Reader as a product. The company now has 3 products: VoiceStream Reader, Writer, and Scanner. And just the Reader itself has been downloaded 350,000 times worldwide. It supports 26 different languages with a 4.6 star rating in the App Store. And most excitingly this year, Apple has awarded VoiceStream Reader with 2021 Apple Design Award, which is an incredible prestige and honor for us. It's, in the past, the previous award winners are the likes of Adobe Photoshop. These are a few products every year that Apple would like to recognize. In the category in which VoiceStream Reader is the winner is the category of inclusivity. So that goes obviously goes to say that to the topic of this webinar, how do we include students who otherwise wouldn't be readily have ready access to learning and reading, and how do we include them in this wonderful thing that we call reading. So I'm just going to launch right into the demo. I'm going to share. Okay, how's that?
Great, now I see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is VoiceStream Reader running on an iPad. So this is right, the screen that you're looking at is the library. So this is where all your reading material is stored. As you can see, it supports a bunch of different formats like Word documents, PDF files, and of course, ebooks that you can download from places like Bookshare. You can organize your library into folders. You can see them by sources. You can create a reading list so that you can have a list of materials you want to read back to back. And of course, what we want to see here is how do we access books from Bookshare. So I'm going to tap on the plus button here and select Bookshare. So for those of you who maybe have seen this before, over I'd say about 6 months ago, we really improved the Bookshare interface to support collections and to support reading lists and assignments. So when Lara added a book to the assignments of Anita, and if I tap on my assignments here, we should see now that book had been added, The Telltale Heart and Other Writings. You can also see reading lists. Here, the 8th grade English, there are 4 books over here. Wander, so we can download that. Just press on the download button. That starts download, and if you leave here, then you'll see the book is right here. And then you can use the play button right here and start playing.
Oh, you'll need to share your sound. We're not hearing the sound.
Okay. Let me. Share sound. Okay, let me try again.
I mean, sure, I do ordinary things.
Did you hear that?
Yes, great.
Okay, wonderful. So also from here, you can see that you can search, you can look at the collections, fictions, and so on, all the books that are in the Bookshare collections. But notice that this user, because it's set up, the way in which it's set up, it's not able to download the book. So in fact, for this user, because it's a student user, the only books that the student has access to are the books in my assignments and the books in the reading list. Okay. So I am going to log out of here and log into Bookshare as a regular user. So I can go in here and say I want to log in again. So here I'm going to enter a different user ID. Winston at voicestream.com, and I will put in my password. Okay, so now I'm logged in as an individual user. And now if I go through the collections, let's say the New York Times bestseller, fiction, and I tap on it, notice on the top right-hand side of the screen, the download button is available. So this is a new feature that's been added recently, is support for collections. And notice you can see there are fictions and non-fictions, children's books here. And all of these titles are stored on the device so that every time you tap on one, it comes up instantaneously so that you don't have to wait for it to download. But should it go out of date, so for example, the New York Times, so for example, this one, the latest in the bestseller list looks like it's from April, and you can tap on the refresh button, the fourth button, top left, and it would go to the Bookshare website and refresh that list. So now notice that you see the bestsellers from September. You can also filter. I say I only want to see the bestsellers in August. So there you are, where you can filter by author, you can filter by language. In this case, it's English, and also you can sort. So here you can sort it by period, which is right now it's been sorted. You can sort it by title and an author. And again, because all the list is stored locally here, there's no need to go online. So the response time is really good. So besides New York Times bestsellers, we have award winners, Pulitzer Prize winners. And again, these are the same list of titles that you see on the Bookshare website, except here it's accessed right on the iPad. Some of the other ways of accessing Bookshare content, we have latest books that have been added to the Bookshare library, and also seeing, looking at titles by category, for example, animals, and periodicals. So let's tap on New Yorker, and from here you can download the 3 latest issues. And of course, we have my reading list and my assignments, which you have seen before. So let's download another book here. So maybe we can find the Harry Potter. Let's just search for Potter. And notice the search is both by author and title. So it comes up with writers and as well as titles that include Potter. So let's download the first book. Harry Potter, let's see right here. Okay, so that's downloaded. Here, we can now navigate the book using the table of content. Let's go to chapter 1. And double tap anywhere to start reading from there. Let's double tap.
Mr. and Mrs. Dursley, of number 4, Privet Drive, were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. They were the
So that's a quick overview of the new interface for Bookshare. So I'm gonna show you a few features of the reader. One thing that sets the VoiceStream Reader apart is the availability of a lot of voices. So right now I'm using a voice called Sally, but if you click on this, you'll notice that there's a number of built-in voices built into iOS that are available, and also a number of voices from other companies that are available for download. So for example, you can go to Manage My Voices and add voices. And these are all the English voices that are available. So it doesn't matter what kind of voices you prefer, especially for people who listen to, who use text-to-speech a lot, you can always find a voice that you have an affinity for. It supports full text search. So for example, we can search for Potter, and here's all the places where Potter appears. You can go there. You can also annotate. So let's highlight this text here and we say highlight, or we can take out and add a note and you can say this is important, save, and then later on you can export all your highlights and notes for you to study. There's a full screen mode. You tap on it so that there's less distraction. And you can adjust all sorts of visual aspects of the system. There are fonts, different fonts that you can choose from. So for example, this dyslexia font, which has been shown to help students with dyslexia. And changing spacing and both character spacing and line spacing. Those have also been shown to, when you adjust them just so that they're just right, it really helps students who have dyslexia. Another mode that's also really helpful for students with problems focusing is what we call focused reading mode. So notice that so now the screen only has 3 lines, and you can change it so that it only shows 1 line, 3 lines, or 5 lines. And if you read, it'll scroll.
Believe it until Dumbledore told her it was true. Dumbledore, however, was choosing another lemon drop and did not answer. What they're saying, she pressed on, is that last night Voldemort.
Right. So that was called that's called focused reading mode. You can just squeeze the screen, and it'll get there. To navigate through the document, you can change how you notice that you go forward. You can say, I want to go forward by 30 seconds, okay, backwards by 30 seconds. But you can change that unit. So let's say we want to go forward and backward in one heading at a time. So now if I go forward, it'll go to the next chapter. Okay. Or you can do it with highlights. So you can skip, you can fast forward or rewind through all your highlights very quickly that way. Okay. So let's put it back to 30 seconds. One thing about VoiceStream is that the presentation of the text and the sound are essentially coming at the users at different channels. So for example, I can start reading.
We can only guess, said Dumbledore. We may never know. Professor McGonagall pulled out a lace handkerchief and dabbed at her eyes beneath her spectacles. Dumbledore gave it. About once a week, Uncle Vernon looked over the top of his newspaper and shouted that.
So the user has a lot of flexibility in terms of controlling the reading experience. For students that are really young, there are a couple of other techniques and settings that can make their reading experience easier. One mode is what we call finger reading mode. So now what I can do is I can run my finger just below the word that I want to read and slide it across the screen, and VoiceStream Reader will read it 1 word at a time, but at the pace that the reader is comfortable in. So let me show you that.
About once a week, Uncle Vernon looked over the top of his newspaper.
Right. So that's another way to control reading, or you can say, I'm going to stop at the end of every sentence. So let's try this.
Harry was frying eggs by the time Dudley arrived in the kitchen with his mother.
Okay, so now it stopped. So if I want to read the next sentence, I push play again.
Dudley looked a lot like Uncle Vernon. And
it stopped again. So again, slows things down so that beginner readers can comprehend better. And then there's also options for people who want to read very fast. And Some research that came out of Boston University and MIT has shown that even for people with dyslexia, if you read auditorily, you can improve your reading speed. And oftentimes most people can read about twice as fast when listening than they can read visually, than the average person can read visually. And we can do this using various techniques. And one of the techniques that you might have heard of called RSVP. So let's try that one. And let's push play.
He had a large pink face, not much neck, small, watery blue eyes, and thick blonde hair that laced.
Okay, so that's flashing words one word at a time on the screen. And if you change the reading speed, let's say to 300 words per minute, which is quite fast, and you can see whether you can comprehend at this speed.
Harry put the plates of egg and bacon on the table, which was difficult as there wasn't much room.
Okay, again, we're stopping at the end of a sentence, so you can tell what would happen if you continue. Another speed reading mode is called Pac-Man. And this is also based on research that came out of MIT and Boston University, which is that the words are erased as they're read out loud, so that it forces your attention to move forward. In fact, the idea is for you to read ahead of the sound, so that visually, so that you see the word, and then a fraction of a second later, you hear the sound, so that you process the text 2 times. And using this technique, you can read much faster. So
Dudley, meanwhile, was counting his presents. His face fell. 36, he said, looking up at his mother and father. That's 2 less than last year. Darling, you haven't counted.
All right, so that was Pac-Man mode. Another accommodation that we have are for people with low vision. And this is where you can use text. Typically, what helps is using a block text like Atkinson Hyperlegible in bold, and let's make the text really large. Okay, and again, this font has been shown by research, using research, to be more legible than any other font that was tested for people with low vision. And this font is specifically designed for people with low vision. And again, you can read like this visually if you have low vision, or if your eyes get tired, you can always double tap anywhere.
Aunt Petunia obviously scented danger, too, because she said quickly, and we'll buy you another 2 presents while we're out.
Okay, well, I guess we're still on, we're still on speed reading. Let me turn that off. Okay. Or you can also go into scrolling. You can say, rather than free scrolling, we're going to scroll page by page. So now you just swiping the word, swiping on the page, it'll give you a fairly standard ebook reading experience, which is a paginated format, reading 1 page at a time. The app also supports VoiceOver, but rather than simply doing the minimum, which a lot of products do in terms of supporting VoiceOver, where we want to do this above and beyond. So when VoiceOver is turned on, the user interface actually changes slightly to have the optimal experience for people who use VoiceOver to navigate. It also supports switch control. So for students who have motor function difficulties, it supports a braille display so that the text can be read on a braille screen. And more recently, you can navigate the app entirely using speech by saying move to the next, open document, so on and so forth, and start to play and read, and it'll respond to your voice commands. One last thing I want to show you is a feature that's been added recently, which is OCR, and that means to take a picture of a document or a worksheet, for example, and to recognize the text in there and read that out loud. So you can use the camera to do that, to scan, sort of quote unquote scanning a paper document, or you can also through Google Drive or Google Classroom reach in there and find, let's say, I have a scanned document here called positivepsychology.pdf. So this is a scanned PDF. I downloaded that. Here's the document. So notice that it detected that it's a scanned document because there's no text in it. It says the document appears to be a scan. Would you like to perform OCR on it? And I press proceed. And it performs OCR on the document and recognizes the text on it, and I can push play.
Chapter 8. Positive Psychology, the Science at the Heart of Coaching.
Okay, I suppose we're still on fast speed. Let me turn that down a little bit.
Positive Psychology, the Science at the Heart of Coaching. Carol Kaufman.
Okay, so that's the demo of VoiceStream Reader. So one last thing I want to say is that it's available on iPhones in the Apple App Store for iPhones and iPads, and shortly it'll be available for Mac OS for Macs. The price for the iOS or iPhone and iPad version is $19.99 US dollars per download, and then that's a one-time price, and you would have the app forever. For institutional customers or schools, there's a volume discount. So if you purchase 20 copies or more, there's a 50% discount. So that wraps up the presentation. I think we'll take questions now.
Yeah, there's some questions. I can read them out to you and you can answer.
Sure.
Someone has asked how often there are updates to the app.
Typically, we're updated at least once every month or two, but sometimes it's much more frequent. So, over these last 10 years that the app has been released, it's been updated and very, very regularly with a lot of new features added. For example, the OCR feature that was added over the last year is new, and it's actually free for all existing customers. So by purchasing the product, you essentially get all the future improvements for free.
Great. Someone asked if there's a way to test it out ahead of time before they purchase to hear some of the different voices.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. And the reason is that, Apple App Store just doesn't allow, it doesn't allow sort of trial. Now, with that said, it's actually very easy to get a refund. It's sort of a little secret about the Apple App Store that sometimes people don't know about. You can download it. You can download the app, pay for it. And if you don't like it, it's quite easy to contact Apple and ask for a refund. If you're only interested in the voices, it's fairly easy to listen to them ahead of time. You can go to our website, voicestream.com, and that contains links to the companies whose voices we resell essentially, and listen to the voices.
Great. Then there's a couple questions about if it will ever be available for Chromebooks or Android devices.
No. The short answer is no. It's certainly not in the foreseeable future. I do want to stay in the Apple ecosystem. It seems to have the best technology and the best support for developers.
Okay, great. And I think you might have demoed this, but someone asked, how do you bookmark so you can return where you left off?
Yeah, that's very simple. So I can let me open up the book. Let's say there's a bookmark button at the top right, so I can press on that and notice there's a bookmark. So now I can scroll away from there, and I can find my bookmarks here. So that's the bookmark that I just created. I can tap on it and it'll go back to it.
Okay, and someone has asked if a student imports a scan worksheet and to have read to them, is there a way for them to take notes or have questions for the student inserted into that? I guess any way to annotate.
Yes, you can annotate PDF documents, but not filling it out. So that feature is not available yet. So let me open up a scan PDF. This is the PDF document that we just OCR'd. So I can, for PDF document as well, I can highlight something. I can also add a note. And that note is there. And from here, if you export this document, you have the ability to export the document with the highlights and the notes.
Great. One other question about and I think you showed some of the other libraries that it interacts with, but in addition to Bookshare, what other content sources for materials are available?
So I'm going to go in here and show you the different sources. So you can use the camera to scan, obviously, and also from various cloud storage services like Dropbox or Google Drive, which is the same as Google Classroom. So so my son can log into his Google Classroom account from here and see all the classroom materials, and Google Docs and Google Sheets and Google presentations. Those can all be downloaded into VoiceStream Reader. It supports Evernote. Pocket and Instapaper are sort of online bookmarking services for web pages. You can also import web pages. So for example, so I can show you here from Safari. If you find an article that you want to read, okay, they haven't logged in here. But anyway, from here, you can say there's an action called Save to VoiceStream here, okay, and you can say Save to VoiceStream, and it'll you can save this article to the VoiceStream library. And if you go back to VoiceStream, notice that here's the article from New York Times. So that's another way to add content, and that works for sources like Wikipedia as well. But mostly it's files, any files that you want to read. There are some sources outside the U.S. Like CELA and in France, in Switzerland, some libraries for the blind that can be accessed here through a web interface. But mostly, like I said, it's file formats: ebooks, PDF, Word documents, text documents, HTML/web pages, and so on.
Another question, someone asked, is it possible to buy bulk? Like, they don't have devices at school, but could they buy the licenses in bulk and then put them on students' personal devices?
Yes, absolutely. You can buy them. It's in a sense that they give you a block. Apple will give you a block of codes, And those can be but the students' personal devices, I think you have to sort of register them. So that other, so these apps that you buy in block can be installed on those devices.
Great. One last question: any future support for OneDrive?
OneDrive is supported sort of through the file browser. So if the OneDrive app is installed on the device, on this iPad, then you will see in the list of locations OneDrive, and you will be able to access the files in OneDrive that way. But unlike the Google Drive and Dropbox, there's no direct interface from VoiceStream to OneDrive, and it'll probably stay that way.
Great. Well, thank you so much for this great demo. I saw some new features that I wasn't aware of. We are just right about the hour. Everybody be on the lookout the next few days. You will receive an email with a link to the recording of the webinar and some of the slide presentation. And you'll have information for follow-up if you have any support or further questions. So be on the lookout for that. We really thank you all for attending today and hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Oh, someone has just asked if we can get a certificate for the webinar. Yes, we will have a link where you can go to fill in the information and download that. So we will everyone will have the option if you should need that. And well, thanks so much, Winston, for sharing your great resource with us. And everyone, have a great rest of your day.